Jordan Poole's contract was so bad the Warriors had to pay to get rid of it. Warriors got Chris Paul, Wizards got Jordan Poole, Ryan Hollins, a protected 2030 first and a 2027 second. Poole makes $130 million the next 4 years? For what? Dude was unplayable in the playoffs. Warriors were desperate, so they paid the Wizards to take it off their hands. In exchange, they get Chris Paul for 1 season to try to win a chip. But how good of a fit is CP3? We'll explore that, but this is a great sign for Draymond Green. He and Jordan Poole's relationship never recovered. 1 week ago, Dre opted out of his final year to become a free agent. He could have left for a team of cap space like the Rockets or the Pistons, or maybe done a sign and trade. Now, the Dubs are saying, "We love you. Please come back. We have money for you." But that punch video being leaked was the best thing ever for Jordan Poole. Dude was embarrassed. Everyone felt bad for him during extension talks. So the Warriors rewarded him with $130 million bucks. Like, hey, about the punch, we're really sorry. Here's generational wealth. At the same time, it was the worst thing for Draymond. He became the #1 villain in the NBA before Dillon Brooks took over. Articles guaranteeing he's gonna leave the Dubs. The video leaking was a punch to the gut. Like someone in my own building betrayed me to make me look awful. But as the season played out, Dre showed why he is a future Hall of Famer, and Poole melted down. Round 1, 12 points a game on 26% from 3. Round 2, 8 points on 25% from deep. Horrible turnovers. Warrior fans turned on him faster than the NBA media turned on Russ. But in the middle of the season, everything changed. The league got together to gang up on the Dubs. For years, they have had the biggest payroll in the NBA. Their owner, Joe Lacob, will pay whatever it takes to surround Steph, Clay, and Draymond with winning players. But now, the richest teams have gigantic penalties, which is a problem for Draymond because they paid Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins last year. Did that mean Draymond was gone? Not anymore. Chris Paul makes $30.8 million, but it is off the books next summer. So now they can afford to keep the core together. It's not guaranteed, but a lot more likely. But how does Chris Paul fit on the Warriors? They have point guard depth already. Steph Curry at the 1 with GP2 and Dante DiVincenzo backing him up. Steph actually played point guard 100% of the time last year. In fact, the last time he played even a third of his minutes at shooting guard, his rookie year with Monte Ellis. This is going to be a huge change unless Chris Paul agrees to come off the bench. That would be the perfect scenario, leading the second unit as a mature, high IQ veteran playing against other backups. But would CP accept that role? He has never come off the bench before. He has always been the man on his teams and is one of the most vocal leaders in sports. But maybe he wants to win a ring that bad, so he's willing to be a 6th man. But if not, playing point guard isn't actually fair to who Steph is. I mean, he's not a traditional point guard with how often he plays off the ball with a ton of movement. I mean, Draymond handles the ball and facilitates a lot on this team, and they have had traditional point guards in the past. Especially with CP's low turnovers, there is a world where this works. Or this entire move could be a trick. They could be pulling another D'Angelo Russell. Back in 2019, Kevin Durant tore his Achilles and decided he was tired of winning championships. He'd rather team up with his buddy Kyrie and get back to losing like he did in OKC, only in Brooklyn. And that plan worked out great. But the Dubs did a sign and trade to bring back D'Lo. And at the time they said, "Oh, we love D'Angelo Russell. He fits in great here." And then they flipped him at the trade deadline. Yahoo just reported Golden State will not waive Chris Paul. Looking forward to partnering with him on a championship run. Yeah, right. This whole thing could be about upping his trade value to then deal him at the deadline, which is exactly what they did with D'Lo and got back Andrew Wiggins. Now, obviously, that kind of trade is not realistic with CP, but maybe they're trying to get 2 or maybe 3 role players back for depth. So they start the season with Chris Paul while he is healthy, good shooters around him, Chris looks great, and they flip him for bench help. Last time they had a little depth with Otto Porter and Nemanja Bjelica, they won a chip. Not that a team trying to win would love Chris Paul, but at least his expiring contract looks good. A tanking team like the Pistons or the Rockets, who might have vets, would offload them to the Dubs. But the underrated thing about this trade for Golden State is Ryan Hollins. He's a young guy who doesn't really play, but he is a spot on their roster that is now freed up for a veteran minimum player who wants to win a ring. It's what they did with DeMarcus Cousins or David West back in the day. They are now replacing Ryan Hollins, who doesn't play, with some vet who can give them a few minutes. If they add that with depth from another Chris Paul trade later, this could be a championship winning move. But what about the Wizards? They have gotten rid of Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis in 1 week and got 0 first-round picks. How is that possible? In a world where Rudy Gobert goes for control of 6 firsts, they got more firsts for CP than Beal and Porzingis combined. Now, that's not technically true because Chris Paul is part of the Bradley Beal trade, but it's crazy. I feel bad for their fans. The plan will be to suck for like 5 years while picking high in the draft. Then hopefully forever from now, they might have some good young players. Then they'll have to wait years for them to develop. So maybe in like 2033, the Wizards could be a contender. It's like the process, only worse, because the odds of getting a top pick are now horrible. Imagine the Pistons having the worst record in the NBA last year and picking 5th. That's the world the Wizards are living in. Now, they do have a decent backcourt with Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole, but those guys are decent with stars around them, especially Tyus Jones. Best assist to turnover ratio in the NBA, but that really matters when you have like a Ja Morant scoring 30. On his own, he's like a decent role player that no one pays attention to. But we can finally say the 2 timeline Warriors are dead. They tried to set up the future with the present by drafting like a James Wiseman instead of trading the number 2 pick, and it failed. Now they dealt a 24-year-old Jordan Poole for a dude who's 39 in next year's playoffs. Like, we think we'd be better with a guy who's almost 40. It's a big risk because Poole was actually key when Steph and Clay rested in the regular season. Poole struggled in the playoffs, but could still give you 30 on any given night when he was the focal point. But this is about winning now, which will not work. Chris gets hurt a ton at this point, and even in his prime, he is a different guy in big games. If they're depending on him in like a conference finals, history says it will fail. That's why I think a 6-man role makes sense for CP or flipping him again at the deadline. It reminds me of the Lakers when people were like, oh, LA has 5 Hall of Famers. But really it was like old Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Russ, LeBron, AD. Oh yeah, they're Hall of Famers, but at this point the production isn't there. But we could see more gigantic trades. Even if Zion Williamson is not dealt on draft night, the rumors are getting crazy. New Orleans really wants Scoot Henderson, and a report says Zion could be the guy they deal. Check it out.